You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there, welcome to episode 61. I am stoked to bring you this conversation with a very special guest today, Coach Casey Radumus, also known as the Holistic Hypnotist, who is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, transformational coach, nutrition expert, intuitive energetic healer, and entrepreneur. Casey believes that all struggles and suffering are optional. He sees a world where the vast majority of people are waking up every day and experiencing themselves in a fully expressed state of inner joy, peace, health, and outer prosperity. As a former professional touring musician, he experienced fame and success touring the country, playing to sold-out crowds of 20,000 plus people, and even auditioning on NBC's The Voice. But what he eventually realized was that his insatiable drive for career success was actually an unconscious attempt to fill what seemed like a never-ending hole of emptiness, anxiety, depression, and self-loathing that he felt inside of him. And while people were lining up around the building to get their pictures taken with him, the weight of his addictions and compulsion to achieve caused his health, relationships, and overall well-being to crumble beneath him. After hitting bottom, facing the dark night of the soul, and experiencing a healing journey that lasted several years, he discovered a process that allowed him to heal his hidden traumas, experience a spiritual awakening, drop his addictions to food, sex, alcohol, and the approval of others, lose 45 pounds, achieve 8% body fat, heal his cycle of broken relationships, and find inner peace. Now he specializes in helping other stressed out entrepreneurs, executives, leaders, busy professionals, and other high achievers to do the same by helping them heal the invisible inner wounds caused by the painful life events that lead to suffering, let go of the disempowering beliefs that cause them to struggle, and provide them with the tangible, real-world tools, skills, knowledge, and accountability that allow them to express the highest level of inner peace and outer success possible, and fully express the highest and best versions of themselves that they can imagine in their health, wealth, relationships, careers, and passion projects. You all, this is my jam. And in the spirit of serendipity, and Casey will touch on this concept here, my experience was this. I happened to pop onto Clubhouse one day, purely by chance. Of course, nothing is really by chance, is it? If you're not familiar with Clubhouse, it's an app that is voice only, and there are all of these virtual rooms you can join in on conversations that are happening live. It's interesting. I honestly haven't been on it a ton, but I joined a particular room that was hosted by a coach I was familiar with on a particular day, and I heard Casey sharing his story there. He really hooked me, and I said, I must talk to this guy. I need to know more. Now, he's definitely good at his current craft, which is hypnotherapy, and he also has experience with neurolinguistic programming, or NLP, as mentioned in his bio. He's going to tell you all about it in this episode, all of the things, including the difference or similarity between hypnosis and hypnotherapy. If you're super curious, listen and learn with us today. It's freaking fascinating, especially the NLP part. And I see how it's connected to hypnotherapy because the way this guy uses his words is definitely a hook. I joked with him afterward that I think he hypnotized me during this conversation because I was truly in some kind of zone where I was really just absorbing his story, hanging on his words. What's coming next? Seriously. And we are going to wrap up Mental Health Awareness Month in the best way that I know how, by talking about being in the pits of despair and experiencing depression. What's so interesting to me about Casey's story is that he shares what several of my friends already have, and that is the parts of life that seem glorious on the outside, yet that internal suffering is still there. This dude used to be a rock star. And I don't mean that in a way of creating imagery. No, he was a literal rock star on stage, touring with well-known bands. He's going to tell you about that, living that life that many of us think we want to have. Oh, to be a rock star. Living the dream, right? Maybe. Then again, maybe not. What happens when the dream plays out, runs its course? Then what? When you have to start really looking at yourself and you're not sure you like what you see. This is a story about picking yourself up when you've reached a place in a part of yourself you don't even recognize. It's such an honor for me to have this conversation with Coach Casey, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Let's do this. Welcome, Casey, to the podcast. I am so grateful that you are able to join us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
What lights you up, my friend?
I love that question. It's a brilliant question. It's a brilliant name to a podcast. And when I first checked out your podcast, it actually it lit me up to even hear you asking that question. So it's kind of fascinating because I actually had a conversation with my girlfriend, maybe, I don't know, in the last 6 months or so, and we were really actually discussing that particular thing of why do we do what we do, and we were really talking about it as it pertains to like inner peace. What drives us? What are the things that drive us that are toxic versus the things that drive us that are healthier? So that was the discussion. And so I was just kind of introspecting to myself, thinking, gosh, what does, it wasn't so much what lights me up, but it's basically the same question. Well, what does light me up? What is it that I put kind of my self-worth on, or something like that? And so I realized that now, it was so different before, but I'm a different person now than I used to be in my previous life. And so really what lights me up now is being able to help other people evolve or advance or overcome some kind of problem that they're experiencing that is causing them to suffer. And and I just, which is why, that's why I'm a hypnotherapist and a coach and all that stuff, because I think out of all the things that could light me up in life now, that's pretty much what gets me out of bed.
I love that. I love that. And, I think we've all had past lives, and I'm not even talking about, that kind of past life experience. We may have past lives that we don't remember, but that's how we refer to it. Like who we used to be before we became who we are. And
It's interesting because I'm still trying to find the right words to say my past life. Like before I was Casey the holistic hypnotist, I was Casey the rock star. But I say past life, and then people think, oh, like we're talking about karmic something or other. And I mean, no, I just mean like 20 years ago, 10 years ago. But I haven't found the words to articulate that correctly yet.
Oh, I love that. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you do now, hypnotherapy. And I want to hear some more about your past life, because I've heard little bits and pieces of this story, and I would love to share that with our audience today. right
Okay.
now, what do you do? What do you do currently in this life?
Yeah, in this life, yeah,
In this life,
right now, in the
right now.
present moment.
Hmm.
So I call myself the holistic hypnotist. So Coach Casey Radumus, the holistic hypnotist, and I help growth-minded, purpose-driven, high-level entrepreneurs, executives, busy professionals, and other leaders to overcome the anxiety, the stress, the self-doubt, overwhelm, imposter syndrome, and things like that that lead us to burnout and push us out of balance in our life and prevents us from really being who we want to be, doing what we want to do, and having what we want to have in life, and causes all the other areas of our life, like our health and our relationships and our sense of well-being and so on and so forth, to suffer.
Hmm. Yeah. How did you come to that place? This place? Yeah. Let's talk about that road that you've been on a little bit.
Yeah, so it's actually it's pretty interesting. Uh, I never dreamed I would be who or what I am now or be a hypnotherapist. Like pretty much my whole life, all I ever really wanted was to be a successful musician.
Okay.
That's what I woke up for. That's what I loved. That's what I cared about. That's what I optimized. Every decision I ever made was around whether I believed accurately or inaccurately, whether I was wrong or right, whether I believed that making this decision or doing things this way is going to get me closer to being a full-time professional musician and spending my life on stage and making records and on tour and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So so I spent about 20 plus years in the music industry as a professional touring musician. And so my life from the outside really looked like something to be envied. It was, I was playing to sold out crowds. I was playing with big names, venues up to 20,000 plus people. I shared the stage with acts like Kings of Leon, John Mayer, Keith Urban, the country singer, Papa Roach, if you remember that band.
Hmm.
And so I had that experience of like people wanting to take their picture with me, lining up around the building for my autograph, effectively unlimited access to females, and the whole shebang. And my life pretty much looked like kind of a nonstop party. And so on the outside, it had this appearance of success, but really on the inside, I was suffering. And I had this, despite whatever success I was experiencing, I had this hole inside of me that was like, what I like to say is that I had a God-sized hole inside of me that I was trying to fill to the brim with sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Mm.
And so I was on that path to about my mid 30s, and then I kind of came to the place eventually that it was just I realized I had taken that career as far as I could go. I didn't really know how to do more with it. I still was suffering inside and so on and so forth, and so it just came to this point to where I I had to let it all go. I mean, I didn't have to, but there wasn't. I felt that there wasn't anywhere else to go. I just led myself to this final conclusion. I was continuing to beat my head against the wall, so on and so forth. And so at that point in my life, there, kind of in my mid 30s, after that, that's really when I kind of hit bottom. Like it was almost like a midlife crisis to where I didn't know who I was anymore. I had lost my sense of purpose. All I ever cared about was being on stage and playing music and all that. I didn't have that anymore. Um, I didn't know who I was. If I wasn't Casey the rock star, and if I wasn't getting up to be Casey the rock star, then why was I even here? What was I even doing?
Hmm.
Like, and I entered into this just really painful purgatory. And so I got really depressed. I was really miserable. I started eating too much, drinking too much. Um, my significant other that I had at the time, she left me. She went to the arms of another man. I found myself sitting alone in my empty apartment, and it eventually led to getting a DUI, and just it was just a really bad time. And what the decision I made at that time was, I thought, okay, I've spent my whole life chasing this musician dream, and I achieved success in certain ways, but what I was doing while I was a musician throughout that whole time is I'm also an entrepreneur, and I've always been an entrepreneur. So I would have my music career, which is what I really loved, and then I would have whatever businesses I would have for income, to have more of a stable income. So I thought, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go full in on making money. And so then I just attacked. I thought, well, since I can't do what I love anymore, and I know I keep using the word can't. I mean, I could, but it was just fruitless. It was the pain of trying to continue doing that and not getting where I wanted to go and not knowing how to solve that. It just wasn't worth it anymore, So
Can I pause for a second? Because I want to come back to the statement that you made that from the outside, everything looked like I had a successful career, that I was success, and on the inside, I had created a God-sized hole.
yes,
I want to sit with that for a minute, because that's pretty profound. And that is, when was that? When did you find that? When did you see that hole? When did you notice it? Was
I
it
did not gain conscious awareness of that and really unravel that until much later in the story.
Gotcha? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did not have awareness of that.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, so
that's
so so this is what I call the curse of the high achiever. I have come to call this the curse of the high achiever, and this is why I help high achievers.
mm,
Because what I have found is that when we are driven to succeed in such a way that drives us to success in a way that pushes us out of balance,
mm,
underneath of that is usually a toxic driver. There is an unfulfilled wound. There's a wound that's pushing that. There's toxicity that's pushing that. And so really we're trying to ease the pain. So it's no different for many high achievers and high performers. It's no different than a drug addict. I mean, that's how it was for me.
mhm,
And this is what I've experienced with my clients is that, why, when we do push so hard to be successful in any arena,
mhm,
and it correlates to relationships as well. Like when we have this, for lack of a better term, we kind of have this sick desperation to be loved, to get married, to have kids, like in relationships, let's say, or we have this sick desperation to be the best athlete, to win the gold, to join the NFL, to whatever. And it's just, we attach so much meaning to it, or to make the most money, or to get the most promotion, or to have the best grade, whatever it is that we're just pushing and striving for.
mhm.
And what is it that creates that sick desperation to succeed? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with success, right? What I'm talking about. The problem isn't the success. The problem is the inner pain and the
Mhm,
inner wounds, and how we suffer. We are suffering our own success, and we're
mhm,
suffering our way to success, and we're driven by pain. We're trying to ease this pain. We're trying to get approval from whoever, or to feel good about ourselves, or it manifests in different ways. So I call that the curse of the high achiever. And the reason I call it the curse of the high achiever is because on the outside, nobody says to us when we are in that place, wow, it really seems like you're suffering. It really seems like you're struggling here. Maybe you should think about that. Maybe you should talk to somebody. What is it that, like, are you okay? Nobody
mhm,
says that. They say, oh, good job. Wow, you're just, man, I wish I could be like you. You're just team captain, man. You're so great. And
mhm.
so it's like it goes undiagnosed. It's invisible. And so then us ourselves, if we are in that place, 95% of the time, we are completely unaware that we're actually driven by this pain, driven by this fear, driven by this hole, because it's usually something that's been with us our entire life. And so we don't know any different.
Okay.
We don't know. We just think we're passionate. I'm just really passionate. I'm just really driven. I'm just really motivated. And there's a disconnect there as to, well, why? What is
Yeah.
it that's driving me?
Oh my gosh, I did not mean to interrupt the flow of your story. So let's get back to the place where you have lost your relationship, you've gotten a DUI, you're like really lost. Then what?
Yes, very lost. And so the decision I made at that time because this is still, I'm still in the middle of the curse of the high achiever. Only now I'm totally lost about what to do with myself. So I thought, well, if I can't, do what I really love to do, which is the music, which was always a struggle to be financially successful with, I said, okay, fine. I'm just going to make money. Like, because obviously, like, music was that was an art, that was a passion, that was this creative thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I said, okay, well, I'm just going to do what's going to make money, because I know how to make money. I'm an entrepreneur. I can do that if I just wanted to do that instead of spend all my time being Mr. Artist Musician guy. So that's the decision I made. I'm going to go all in. And I just began working myself absolutely into the ground in any way and every way I possibly could. My health began deteriorating and gaining weight, and I wasn't sleeping, and so on and so forth. One of the businesses that I created at that time was effectively an Airbnb business, like a short-term room rental business. And I was doing this out of my home, and I had hired, I had so much going on, I couldn't manage it myself. So I had hired a live-in assistant to manage the room rental business. Mm-hmm. And so one night, I found myself with my assistant, who was this maybe, 25-year-old, 95-pound, adorable, sweet little blonde girl, mm-hmm. Locked in the master bedroom of the house, with all of the knives locked in the bedroom with us. And I'm just staring at the door handle, listening to the paranoid schizophrenic man who we had rented a room to, unknowing of his condition, who had run out of his medication and was now standing on the other side of the door, screaming violent threats to us, in a completely insane manner, at 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself in that moment, it occurred to me that I had let my physical health and my well-being, but in particular, my physical health and my body and my weight and my vitality and strength and so on and so forth, I had let myself deteriorate so bad in such a short period of time that this man who was standing on the other side of the door, even though compared to me, he was an old guy, he was at least 15 years older than me. If this guy would have busted in through the door and got into that room, not only would I not have been able to protect myself, but I also would not have been able to protect or do anything for this little blonde girl that mm-hmm. is standing behind me. Mm-hmm. And I had never experienced that before. And I thought, like, that was the moment when I just said, the way that I'm being, this is not okay. What I'm doing is not okay. The way I'm being is not okay. Like, what have I done here? How did I get here now in this moment with a psychotic man standing on the other side of the door, screaming violent death threats at us? And if he gets in here, we're toast. Is when I made the decision to start really taking my health and my well-being as a priority. Mm-hmm. And so I started a journey at that point. It wasn't so much about playing music or not anymore at that point, or being successful in business or not anymore. I just thought, I need to heal. I need to get okay, because I'm not okay in a bunch of ways, and I need to figure this out. Mm-hmm. So that was probably about a 4-year journey or so. And so what happened was, it came to a point to where I lost all the weight. I lost like 45 pounds. I got down to 8% body fat. I had the shredded abs and the whole thing. And what happened is that for the first time in my life, people started coming to me, asking me for help in relation to weight loss, health, fitness, these types of things. Mm-hmm. And I felt completely qualified to help people with that. And no one had ever asked me that before, but I thought, yeah, I not only would I love to do that and love to help you, but I also feel very qualified because I studied a lot and I did a lot and I overcame a lot. And I am now a person who has a lean, vital, healthy, vibrant body and mind. I feel good inside. I feel good outside. Yes, I am qualified to help you do this. So I started helping people with diet, like weight loss, fitness, and improving their health. But what happened was I very, very quickly came to the same realization that effectively every personal trainer, medical doctor, or therapist or coach of any kind comes to, which is that people don't need, when it comes to fitness and weight loss and health and so on, people don't need another diet plan and they don't need another exercise routine, because pretty much everybody in the civilized modern world knows enough about what they need to do in order to lose weight and be healthy and be fit. The problem isn't that they don't know how. The problem is that we can't get ourselves to actually do what it is that we already know we should do if we want to get the outcome that we want to get. And so I was doing these 30-day, 60-day challenges with people, and they were really successful. And people would just be nailing it in these accountability challenges, where the primary function of the challenges was an accountability challenge, right? It's like, okay, did you work out today? Did you eat the calories you wanted today? All that basic stuff, right? Basic stuff. And people were doing really well. And I thought, well, after 30 days or 60 days, I mean, if you've been doing well, then you don't need me anymore. Like, you got it, just keep going. But that's not what happened. As soon as the challenges would end, then people would just almost immediately fall off, either to back to where they started or to an even worse position than where they started. So when that happened, that's when I put the brakes on the whole thing. And I said, okay, wait a minute. What am I missing here? What is it? And this is the fascinating part, because again, with the self-awareness, I thought, wait a minute, Casey, I get up and go to the gym, and I get up and I go work out every day, whether anybody tells me to or not. I eat healthy, whether anybody tells me to or not. Whether anybody is looking or nobody's looking, I do it anyway. But I didn't used to be that person. I used to be the person that got Starbucks drive-through with the Frappuccino and the sandwich and the chocolate and all that every morning for breakfast, and then Jack in a Box drive-through with the Oreo shake and the cheeseburgers and the bacon cheeseburgers and the curly fries for lunch. And then every single night I would go to Applebee's and do happy hour, because that way I could drink and eat as much as possible deep fried food, margaritas, and Mac and Jack for as cheap as possible.
Oh my God.
I was that guy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was that guy. So, but now I'm this guy.
Yeah.
But it occurred to me, I didn't know how the hell I made that jump. How did I go from being that guy to being this guy, that now I do the things that I know that I should do to get the results I want to get in regards to my health and my wellness and my weight loss and so on and so forth, but I don't know how I got here. And I realized whatever it is that allowed me to flip this switch and do this for myself, that's what I need to figure out how to give my clients, to help people. So at that point, I began reverse engineering and just doing a lot of research, and mostly research. I said, let me figure this out. I got on the internet and I thought, what are all the ways that people can lose weight and be healthy and so on and so forth? And how do if there's a mindset thing here somewhere, right? There's some kind of mental shift, but what is it? So in that process, in that basically discovery process there, that's how I basically landed on three things out of that. Number one, I became a certified clinical hypnotherapist, specializing at that time in weight loss. Number two, I experienced my spiritual awakening. Number three, I unlocked my intuitive gifts, so that I had access to that. And so that's pretty much gets us to how I became Coach Casey, the holistic hypnotist, helping people the way that I do now.
Yeah. Wow. Hypnotherapy, spiritual awakening, and intuitive gifts.
Yeah.
Okay. Very powerful stuff. Tell me about hypnotherapy. How did you find it? I mean, so that was just part of your research and reverse engineering and trying to find out how you got from there to here? That just
Yes.
kind of came up in part of it? Okay.
Yeah, because when I looked at every single thing that I could for weight loss tools or resources or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was even reading books on like spiritual weight loss, like really, really woo-woo stuff. Because
Mm-hmm.
I thought, hey, the answer's out there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it is, but it's out there. I'm going to find it.
Mm-hmm.
So I read these like spiritual weight loss books about like I don't know, having what's it called? Like having altars and kind of doing these ceremonies and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe. And I looked at the full spectrum. And hypnosis was just one of the things that kept coming back up,
Mm-hmm.
hypnosis for weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I mean, I know there's something to this because I hadn't ever, to my knowledge at that time, to my knowledge, I hadn't ever really experienced hypnosis. I'd never been to hypnotherapy. I had never gone on stage during like a stage hypnosis entertainment show,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew there was something to it because I had studied and implemented neurolinguistic programming, which is part of hypnotherapy. So I was like, okay, I know that there could be something here. And so I found this lady named Erica Flint on the YouTubes, and
Mm-hmm.
she was doing videos talking about hypnotherapy, hypnosis for weight loss, and they were really good, and she was really smart, and she had written a book about it and this whole thing, and I'm just like, wow, this lady's really great. There really seems to be something here. And then as I kept just digging on this lady,
Mm-hmm.
I realized, oh, she she's a trainer. She certifies people in how to do exactly what she specializes in, which is hypnosis for weight loss. Like, that's what I help people with. That's what I need. And
Mm-hmm.
then super serendipitously,
Yes.
turns out I live in Seattle, and I found her on YouTube, but her office is just up the road in Bellingham, Washington, about
Oh,
an hour
wow.
and a half away.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how I landed on that. I said, okay, I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got certified in a 5-path clinical hypnotherapy,
Mm.
and that's how that happened.
Wow. Wow. And so tell me a little bit more. That's how that happened, but tell me a little bit more about hypnotherapy and how it works. I don't know that. I mean, like, for example, the people that you work with now, do you actually do you hypnotize them over Zoom? Do they have to be in person with you? How does it work? Or do you bring it
So
into your practice at all right now? I mean,
I do. So
mhm,
far in my experience, because I it's not that I'm really married to hypnotherapy or hypnosis. It's that I'm married to whatever is going to work the best, the easiest, the fastest to help people. And
gotcha.
so far in my experience, I have not found anything else that is more powerful, more effective than hypnotherapy.
Okay.
And so therefore, it's out of all the tools in my tool chest, the
Mhm,
life coaching stuff or the NLP or the cognitive behavioral therapy, so on and so forth, the energy clearing and the intuitive work and blah 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 blah. Out of all
mhm,
the stuff,
mhm,
hypnotherapy is the biggest. It's the biggest gun. It's the biggest cannon. It's going to have the biggest, fastest impact, the easiest. So, and then the other stuff I find is more like the icing on the cake. So. So to answer the basic question, yes, hypnotherapy can be done over Zoom, and
mhm,
and that's how we do it, especially since
mhm,
the lockdown and so on and so forth. So it's no problem. It's really common. Sessions are done over Zoom all the time.
mhm,
In person is possible too, obviously.
mhm,
Um, so let's just dig into the hypnosis thing a little bit, which is let's talk about what hypnosis is not. Hypnosis is not mind control. Hypnosis is not sleep, and hypnosis is not mystical or evil or woo woo. What hypnosis is, and by the way, hypnosis and hypnotherapy are just different names for the same thing. For
mhm,
me personally, if I think of hypnosis as like stage hypnosis which is used for entertainment. And I think of hypnotherapy as used to make positive inner transformational change.
Okay.
But it's the same vehicle, just used for different outcomes. So I like to say that the vehicle of hypnosis is just like the vehicle of your car, where you could take your car if you wanted to, and you could go spin donuts in your neighbor's yard and go jump it into a lake, and you could just use it for entertainment. Or you could use that same car and you could go to work and you could take your kids to school and stuff. So that's the difference between stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy. It's just implementing it for entertainment versus transformational work. So
I think that will help listeners too, to kind of make that, connection, if you will, because I think I do think of hypnosis in that way, of that stage hypnosis, of that, so
Yep.
I enjoy actually saying hypnotherapy because that sounds legit. It just does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why I tend to call myself a hypnotherapist for that reason. So anyway, so hypnosis, hypnotherapy, it's the same thing. So hypnosis is a normal, natural state of mind. Every single one of us can be hypnotized. There's no such thing as someone who can't be hypnotized. Well, how do we know? The way that we know is because each and every one of us goes into hypnosis every single day, a bare minimum of twice. Well, how is that? When is that? Because every single day when we wake up in the morning, we are going from unconsciousness to the deepest depths of hypnosis, on, up, and out of hypnosis until 3, 2, 1, there you are, wide awake, fully alert. You have just traveled through the stages of hypnosis. Then again at night, when we go to sleep, we lay down on our bed and we go down deeper, 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 and sleep, and now you're asleep. So every single day, every single one of us goes in and out of hypnosis at least twice. And so hypnosis it's a state of consciousness. It's not a feeling in the body. So this is why we can be in hypnosis and be hypnotized at any time and not be aware that we are in hypnosis or hypnotized, because it just feels like normal life, because we go through most of our life in a state of trance or in a state of hypnosis. A couple of other examples that I like to share is, number one, anytime we've been driving down the road and all of a sudden we can't remember where the last 5 miles went. And we've driven 30 miles and it feels like 3 minutes went by. That's because we were in a state of hypnosis. We call that road hypnosis. My favorite example, because it's the most relatable to real life, is, see, when we think about stage hypnosis and we think about but why would that person get up there and bark like a dog and quack like no person in their right mind would do that, right? So there must be some kind of mind control or something. And that person that's doing that must not be present. They must not be aware, because they would never do that. So not only is hypnosis not mind control, but also it's not sleep. So meaning anytime we are in hypnosis, we have a dual awareness, meaning our logical, conscious, analytical, critical mind, it's present, it's online, it's aware of everything that's happening. And also our subconscious mind has a seat at the party, so that both can be happening at the same time. So we never lose consciousness or forget who we are or don't know what's going on when we're in hypnosis. To be honest, that would make it a lot easier, but that's it's not the case. So when we think of stage hypnosis, and it's like, man, that person is up there on stage doing all this crazy stuff. How or why would anyone do that? So here is the best real life example for any one of us where we have done exactly that same thing. So anytime that we have watched a movie, read a book, watched a play or a musical or a TV show, or even listened to a song, and if we have jumped because we were scared, if we have gotten angry because of something that happened on the screen, if we got super happy and excited when the main character overcame the challenge or beat the bad guy, and we get all excited and fired up, and especially if we are watching Titanic and all of a sudden Leonardo DiCaprio is drowning at the end, and there we are sobbing uncontrollably, babbling snot out of our nose, physically, viscerally having a breakdown because of something that is completely and totally imaginary, absolutely does not exist. We absolutely know that it does not exist. We know that it's Leonardo DiCaprio. There's no such person as Jack. That is all completely imaginary. And yet there we are having a full-on breakdown. Why? Because we're hypnotized. That's hypnosis. Everybody gets hypnotized. We're all hypnotized. Wow. So yeah, there's really nothing magical about it. It's actually very, very natural. It's just that there's so much weird stigma around it. Because on the outside, if we look at stage hypnosis, it looks like something that it's not. It appears as though this person has lost control. It appears as though they're not present. It appears as though they're out of their mind. It appears as though this hypnotist has magical controlling powers, but really the internal experience of hypnosis is no different than we go and see a movie in the movie theater. We forget that there's some strange person next to us that we don't know that's sitting right there, that's 3 inches from us, because our awareness gets so focused on the experience of going into the story of what's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
And so our awareness of the other things just temporarily dissolves.
Just like our awareness of the last 30 miles driving has dissolved, if you will, in terms of in that moment, but we've still been in control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. We're in control.
Still in control.
Even if we were driving down the road daydreaming, which is why we're not present, because we're in a hypnotic trance somewhere else in our mind. Even if that was the case, if a deer ran out in front of us on the road, we're there. We're slamming on the brakes. We're curving. You're still there.
Yeah.
Still in control, as you said.
Very good point. Yeah. Oh, that is a lot, Casey, to absorb. I'm telling you. Let's go back to.
Sorry. Do we need to do some therapy about it?
Don't
Tell
even
me how
be
you
sorry.
feel.
Right? I want to come back to the depression, and because I almost feel like we skimmed over that a little bit. We're in this place, and I get that once you started losing weight and feeling good and all of that, feeling good physically, feeling better mentally, that kind of thing. But what got you there? Was it that moment, behind the door with the, raging maniac on the other side? And you just basically said, okay, I'm not going to live like this anymore. And, and all of that. But you and I know there's mind work in that too. And I'm just kind of wondering where that came in, because I almost feel like in your story that came in after the weight loss. And you were reverse engineering and trying to figure out how you had done it, kind of thing. Where did you where was your spiritual awakening?
So very good question. I do find it kind of challenging to fit in all the pieces of the story and the puzzle to where it all makes sense. So
sure, no, it's fine.
So the truth is, I did not actually experience hypnotherapy as what I understood to be hypnotherapy and having a legit hypnotherapy session for myself until after I was already a certified hypnotherapist. So my journey, my healing journey, and how hypnosis and hypnotherapy weaves into that story is kind of a it's kind of a disjointed one. But I'll just lay it out linearly.
Okay.
And so for me, when I was in my early 20s, I don't know, 22, 23, I first learned about something called NLP, Neurolinguistic Programming. And neurolinguistic programming is the use of language to be able to use language patterns that trigger responses in people. So it's used for influence and healing work, and it helps shift beliefs, and it helps create states of trance. So just like when we're if we're watching a movie, where we enter into a state of trance, a state of hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same time, right? So anytime if somebody says to you, once upon a time in a land far, far away,
Mm-hmm.
boom, that's a hypnotic induction, because in your mind, you have just transported to an alternate reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm heading to a long time ago in a land far away.
Gotcha.
So NLP is like the use of language to induce trance, to be able to do whatever you want to do, to
Mm-hmm.
help coach people and help them break habits, or for sales and marketing or public speaking. Martin Luther King, his speech with the all of the metaphors in it, that's neurolinguistic programming. So anyway, I learned about neurolinguistic programming in my early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and I utilized it for two things. Number one, to be able to communicate with females better, and number two, to entertain people better and use it from the stage when I was as a musician, so that I would use my words in such a way that would help to engage the audience in an engaging way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that experience, and sort of I saw the power of what was possible. I experienced being able to place people into a state of trance and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I that went through. Gosh, see, it's hard to tell this in order because it just sort of ruins the story. But anyway, so then a couple years later, I had my first business, and I went to a seminar. There was a money seminar, and one of the things they did in the seminar was, okay, we're going to dig up our limiting beliefs around money, and then we're going to do this guided meditation thingamabob that's going to help you with those limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did that experience. After that, it changed my entire relationship with my family. I was having this issues with my grandfather, who at the time in my family, my grandfather, he was kind of like the godfather. So he was the patriarch, and everybody in my family said, and so on and so forth. And I was having these issues with him, and so I did this thing in the seminar, and it went away. I hadn't spoke to my grandpa in 3 years, which in turn I hadn't seen my grandmother in 3 years, which was no fault of her own, but I couldn't see her without seeing him. And I was like, no, I don't want to be around that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that experience, and it was just this, it was life-changing. I thought, wow, that's weird. And it was just from doing this meditation thingy in a room full of, I don't know, 500 other people. And they just played this meditation thing over the loudspeakers, and I don't know, something happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so that occurred. And then fast forward many years later, because both of those were in my early 20s. So continuing on that path, I'm aware of what NLP is. Around 2016 or so, which was kind of in the middle or towards the end. It was towards the very end of my healing journey of my physical transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, knowing that Tony Robbins does NLP. He's an NLP guy. I know NLP works. Okay, that's all fine and good. So I went to his 3-day seminar, and so it was all fine and good. I come home from that 3-day event. I immediately lost 10 more pounds. And all of a sudden, somehow, I had become a vegan. I don't even know how. I don't even know how. I don't know. Right. So
I'm not laughing
at
you being a vegan. I'm laughing at you being surprised at, somehow I became a vegan.
Yeah, no, it was that crazy. My girlfriend and I at the time went together, and we had come back, and we just changed all of our eating habits and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it was, I don't know, maybe a week after being home or something. And I'm sitting at the table looking at my food, and it just clicked in my head. I said, wait a minute. If I'm not going to eat this, and I'm not going to eat this, and I'm not going to eat this, and I am going to eat this. And I looked at her. She was standing right next to me, and I looked at her. I said, holy crap, I'm a vegan. How did this means if this is what I'm going to do, that means I'm a vegan. How did I get here? I never made a conscious decision of like, well, I'm going to be a vegan for all these reasons. Never happened. I just, all of a sudden, I was a vegan.
That's great.
It's crazy. So then you fast forward a little ways, right? And I actually go to become certified. I'm in my training to become certified as a hypnotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The very first thing that they started to teach us in my hypnotherapy certification, I immediately recognized as, wait a minute, this is exactly the thing that we did in the Tony Robbins seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, got it. So I know this works. I was like, it's the same thing. I was so confident right away because I'm like, oh, I know this works. So I recognized that, and then I don't know, very shortly after I got certified, and I started seeing clients immediately, because I was fully empowered. As soon as I finished my training, I was good to go. And so I started seeing clients immediately, started seeing results immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that happened was through that part of my transformation where I let go of being Casey the rock star. I wasn't Casey the rock star anymore. I didn't want to be Casey the rock star anymore. I had experienced this spiritual awakening that had occurred within this time process.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm becoming effectively a therapist, a healer. I'm becoming a healer and a therapist. And this is what I do. And this is who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you see, my girlfriend at the time, she had fallen in love with a rock star, hadn't she? And she still wanted one of those. And I wasn't that anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So then I started experiencing the end of that relationship, and we'd been together, I think 5 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, wow, I am still, and this is probably a few months after getting certified as a hypnotherapist, I am still in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot deal with this breakup. I'm on the floor. I'm in the bathtub, sitting on the bathtub floor with the shower turned on me, rocking back and forth, sobbing uncontrollably. I just have this feeling like I'm going to die, like the walls are closing in on me, like I'm just in blackness, like the pain is unbearable in the middle of my soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't believe it, because I thought, God, I've come so far. I've done so much healing and so much work and so much blah, 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 and so many belief shifts. Why can't I handle this?
Why does
Why
this
is this
hurt so
happening?
much? Why
does this hurt? Especially because in my logical mind,
mm-hmm.
her and I parting ways and breaking up made perfect sense. Like, yes, that was totally the right, best thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. Yeah, we should definitely do that. There's no reason why this should be a problem for me. Yet here I am, just like rotting from the inside. So that's when I threw everything that I had at it, of my own tools, of everything that I had learned over the years. And I think it was about a week or so of me trying to just figure it out myself, because you know, I know how to do all this, right?
Right.
And then I said, okay, I know what I need. I need this technique of my hypnotherapy training, but I need somebody else to walk me through it. I need a hypnotherapist to hypnotherapy me, and I can't do it myself. So I called one of my colleagues, and I told her, one of a gal that had done the certification with me. I said, hey, listen, this is what I'm going through. I need our phase 2. You know, I need this. Will you help me? She said, no problem. I'll be right over. And so that was actually my first experience of being a hypnotherapy client, specifically using hypnotherapy in a traditional clinical hypnotherapy setting to specifically solve a painful problem. And it was so powerful and so transformational, more than any of the other stuff I had ever done, including the Tony Robbins thing and all that, that I went from, just a level 10 pain and suffering inside of me to probably 60% gone, like that, in one session, just like that. And then the rest of it, what was remaining, I got neutralized out over the next few weeks or whatever, to where I was I was fine. I'd never experienced such a profound and fast thing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing for the most important reason why hypnotherapy? I mean, why not therapy? Why not read a book? Why not just go to a seminar? Right? You had said, well,
Mm-hmm.
what did you do? Well, I did all the stuff that
You
everybody
did.
else does. I
You
read the
did.
books, I went to the seminars,
Mm-hmm.
I did the self-help, I made the affirmations, I made the dream board, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I went to therapy. I did all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not that it didn't help. It did help, but it
Mm-hmm.
got me to a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
but not beyond that point.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why? And here's why. The reason why is because 90% or 90% or more, I really say 90% graciously, optimistically, 90% or more of our behaviors and our feelings are coming from our subconscious mind, which means, by definition, if they are in our subconscious, that means they are not in our conscious awareness. We are not aware of them. We don't even know that they're down there. And yet they're running our entire show. They're driving the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can spend all day long till we're blue in the face, especially if we are really smart and just really educated and really analytical and just really good at problems. Especially then we can spend all day thinking our problems away and figuring it out and thinking we know what's going on, until we are blue in the face, until we drop dead and never, ever, ever, ever actually access the root cause of what's actually causing our problem, because it's below our awareness. And the only way to access that is to enter into an altered state of consciousness where we are able to access what is in the subconscious mind. And if we are not in an altered state of consciousness that allows us to access what is in the subconscious, then we will never solve the problem. It's that simple.
Do you know what I
It's
find
really that
so
simple.
fascinating and powerful about this particular part of your story is that knowing everything that you already knew, you still found yourself in such a hole, in such a pit of despair, in such a
Right.
place, even
Yeah.
knowing all of those things. And I think you just tied it in quite nicely by saying, analytically and intellectually and knowing what I knew. And that still doesn't always give us the power to fix it ourselves. Right.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the drums that I bang on
Mm-hmm.
is,
Mm-hmm.
look, even the best brain surgeon in the world cannot conduct his own brain surgery. Why? Not because he isn't smart, not because he doesn't know things, but because it's not possible for him to access the problem from the proper perspective.
Yeah.
He needs somebody else to do his brain surgery for him. And the
I
same is true
love
for
that.
all of us.
That is so, so good. Thank you for using that analogy. You've used several throughout. I love that. And I love that one. I love that one. A brain surgeon cannot do his own surgery. That is, wow, that's good stuff, Casey. Um, can you explain a little bit more about the work that you do today? I know you said let's bring it back to that and then tell people how they can reach you. But the work that you do today is with high performing, high achieving, have it all together people that just really need you, right?
Yeah, you know what? Let's explore that just for a minute, because this is the
Yeah.
fascinating thing that I have found is, in my experience as a hypnotherapist, getting into the deepest depths of people's consciousness, the deepest depths of their being.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that there's only about maybe 3 or 4 or 5 tops, depending on how you look at it, root causes for
Mm-hmm.
effectively any and every problem we can ever have in our life, including physical ailments and disease, psychosomatic things, panic attacks, seizures, autoimmune disease, addictions,
Mm-hmm.
relationship problems. Everything boils down to 3, 4, 5 things. So the biggest one I have found is, and you'll hear this from a lot of life coaches or therapists or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
you have probably experienced this, but the biggest one is a subconscious. And I use the word subconscious because, again, I find that the most imperative thing for me to communicate to anyone in the world ever is that and this is what I tell my clients. I say, look, Sonny,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you think, because you think everything you think, and you know everything you know, and you've done everything you've done, and you still have the problem, don't you? Okay, then I don't care what you think.
Mm.
What you think doesn't matter. What your subconscious believes to be true, that's what matters.
Mm.
So I say a subconscious belief
Mm-hmm.
of that in some way I'm broken, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough. In some way, shape, or form, I am not enough in
Mm-hmm.
some way. And this doesn't mean that we walk around in our life every day saying, gosh, I'm just not enough, I'm not good enough. It's most of us don't. But the subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
if the subconscious believes that,
Mm-hmm.
then this is the fascinating thing. That's the number one root of all of the biggest problems that every single one of us experiences. But here's what's fascinating. It can play out in our life two very distinctive, we could say three, but for simplicity, two very distinctive and opposite ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I liken it to the fight or flight response.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could say fight, flight, or freeze too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But so if we encounter a perceived threat, whether real or imagined,
Mm-hmm.
then we have a fight or flight response where either we're going to run away
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to engage and attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When we have a subconscious belief that in some way we're not good enough, we're not lovable, we're not deserving, there's something wrong with us, whatever words the subconscious decided to pick when it decided to believe that, usually when we were less than 7, less than 5, less than 3 years old, probably even in the crib. Sometimes we can't even walk yet, which is why we can't remember these things, and we have to enter into altered states of consciousness to be able to even access them, to even do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
But when our subconscious believes that in some way, on some level, then our response to that, that's going to play out in our life for the rest of our life, when we're 10 years old, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, until or unless we go in and deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
then it's either going to be, I am going to overachieve to prove that I am actually good enough, I am actually lovable, I am actually deserving, and I'm going to prove it. And so I'm going to just push. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the smartest. I'm going to whatever I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be the nicest. I'm going to be the kindest. Whatever.
Yeah.
Or so that's the fight response, right? Or we take the flight response, which is we stay small. We don't speak up. We don't stand up for ourselves. We don't write the book. We don't release the book. We don't go live on Instagram. We don't go ask the girl out. We stay small because we're not good enough anyway. We're going to get rejected anyway. We're not worth it anyway. Nobody cares what we think anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So in relation to how I help high achievers, right? I help people who are on both sides of that spectrum.
Gotcha.
So if we're suffering from the imposter syndrome, the procrastination, the not feeling good enough, the I'm not putting myself out there like I want to. There's just something, I'm stuck. I don't know why. I just can't get myself to do it. Okay, I help you with that. If we're on the other side, where it's like, I'm burnt out. I'm so burnt out. I'm so stressed. I'm overwhelmed. I'm doing all these things. I've got 37 businesses, 942 kids. Everybody needs everything from me, and I've got to do it. And so I just am just on over my head.
Yeah.
So the driver is the same, and I help people with that.
Nice. That is very well stated. I love it. How can people reach you?
Well, I'm a big fan of Instagram right now, but anybody can DM me on social media, Coach Casey, the holistic hypnotist. But also, I've actually got my new website getting worked on right now, and that is coachcaseymethod.com.
Gotcha.
coachcaseymethod.com.
I will add to the show notes. And so Instagram is your primary choice, and I think you put some Clubhouse activities when you're in there sometimes on your Insta feed. All right.
Yes, I'm all over Clubhouse.
Yeah.
If
That's
somebody's
where
on
I found
Clubhouse,
you. Yeah.
yeah, let's do the Clubhouse. I do a
Yeah.
daily show on Clubhouse, Total
Okay.
Health and Wellness Daily,
Okay.
interactive live show, 5:55 p.m. Pacific California time,
Hmm.
8:55 p.m. Eastern New York time. We cover all things health, wealth, relationships, fulfillment. So we can have a six-pack of the body, a six-pack of the mind, a six-pack of the spirit, and have complete and total health and well-being in all the areas of our life. Super fun,
Outstanding.
super exciting.
I love it. Awesome. Okay.
I'm going to have you as an expert panelist on my show, you realize.
Dude, I would love to be. I would absolutely love to be. Let's do it. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Sunny the Life Coach. I really
Really,
appreciate you having me.
really appreciate. I'm fascinated by your story and your work. Thank you so much. Have a good one, Casey.
All right, see you soon.
Okay. I'm reflecting on one of the most poignant statements of many that were made here today, and that is, what you think doesn't matter. What your subconscious believes to be true is what matters. Yeah, really. I've talked about this before, but our programming, our societal conditioning runs deep. Our subconscious can be difficult to tap into. I love that Casey has found ways to do that, to break through, to have a breakthrough, to have that experience. Such a wonderful thing. I also truly appreciated the analogy of a brain surgeon. That resonates with me because I feel the same way about coaching in general. We can coach other people all day long, and there are wonderful methods of self-coaching and self-exploration. However, it is imperative that we coaches have our own coaches to help us truly see the parts of ourselves that are lurking in the subconscious, the place we can't always get to easily. It's such a great analogy. We can't perform our own brain surgery. I am so grateful for that awareness. Be sure to check out the show notes for ways to connect with Coach Casey, as he has updated his social platforms and websites since this recording. He can be found hosting the Total Health and Wellness Daily Interactive Live Show exclusively on the Clubhouse app every day at 5:55 p.m. Pacific Time on any social media platform at Coach Casey Now or at his website, CoachCaseyNow.com. I, for one, am probably going to connect to Clubhouse a bit more often because it's definitely a solid way to find other amazing humans with fascinating stories to tell. I love it when intuition leads us to these gifts. Light up, my friends. Shine on.